Hello everybody, and welcome to another New Player Guide, the series where we look at a hero's entire kit, all 15 cards, an example deck, and the Nemesis and Obligation to really understand what does this character bring to Marvel Champions, what are they going up against, and what are your next steps if you want to try them out, or you have tried them out and you want to get a little bit further into it. Without further ado, today we are talking about Shuri, aka the Black Panther, I believe the first of our legacy heroes, in terms of like just a character that literally comes with the same name as a character that already exists. Because, you know, well, actually, that's not true. We have Miles Morales, as he's also Spider-Man. Either way, let's not mince any more words. Let's just get into it. Let's talk about Shuri. She is a character that I definitely wanted to like a lot. And I just don't know if I fully cracked the best way to play her. I think I have a much clearer vision of how to play her than I did during my pack opening or even during my first game with her up against, I believe I played her up against Nebula. That went very poorly. But she is a alter ego with 4 recovery. She has the Genius and Wakanda traits. She has a hand size of 6 and hit points of 11. And she has the Inventor ability, which is a action, exhaust Shuri, search your deck for a Black Panther or tech upgrade and put it into play, reducing its cost by 2, limit once per round. So if you find a way to ready her back up, you don't get to do this again. Well, obviously, we will get into her alter ego in a second, and we are going to definitely be talking about her Black Panther upgrades right up front as soon as we get through Black Panther herself. But I will say that I had a bit of a stumbling block, and I kind of still do, where I just have to resign myself to the fact that Shuri is just not going to be making an action on the first turn because you do want to get these upgrades into play. Without needing to talk about the upgrades, the actual text of the upgrades right now, just know that they all cost 2. So this basically puts whatever Black Panther upgrade you're looking for into play for free. Obviously, you can grab other tech upgrades that cost 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think the important thing is that she makes tech upgrades that cost 3 and up more viable because you actually can realistically pay for them. But beyond that, I don't really have a lot more to say about her alter ego side. I have definitely used it on the first turn, gone and done a bunch of other stuff. At some point, maybe you shuffle your deck back up, so the tech upgrade, which again, the tech upgrades we'll talk about in a second, you can discard them for an added effect. But basically, come back over, exhaust her to go grab even maybe the same tech upgrade or just get a second or third one that I need in play. It is a helpful ability. It's just not it's not what I build my strategy around. But let's get into her actual hero side. So Black Panther proper is a hero with 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, the Wakanda trait. Oh, I suppose I should have said this before, but her Genius trait is relevant. I don't know if it's going to be relevant within the wave when I do my example deck, now that I stopped to think about it. The Wakanda trait, and then she has a response when she uses any of her basic powers. So after Black Panther uses a basic power, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. She has 5 hand size and 11 hit points. There is not too much more that I can really say about Black Panther on this side. She is definitely one of those heroes where I feel very strongly that she is a body that turns on other parts of her kit. The fact that she has 2/1/2 stats are very good. Another character that I would say fits into the role of they're just here to kind of bring out the rest of their kit would be Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel has 1/1/1 stats. You definitely are not using her for those stats. You're using her for her ability to rebuy events. In this case, Black Panther, Shuri, has the ability to, thwart for 2 and then use one of her upgrades to do an added effect. So she does have very respectable stats. It's just what you're getting out of her is more contingent on what upgrades you have over what she's going to actually do. She's not reactive the same way that other heroes are. She doesn't, like Winter Soldier, defeats an enemy, removes 2 threat from a scheme. That's not the same thing. That Black Panther's not bringing that to the table. She is bringing a very, I would say, consistent game plan that kind of just revolves around her own cards. And that's pretty apparent. I mean, her entire card revolves around do a basic power, which includes defending, which I think is relevant and something that I don't always take into consideration when I'm planning out the villain phase. But you can defend and use one of the special abilities on a Black Panther upgrade. Just being able to do that, being able to basically use her tech to dictate how the flow of the game is going to go is very powerful. And as I talked about last week with Silk has 3 upgrades that bump up her thwart, her attack, and her defense. And depending on what role you're in, if you are in protection, aggression, justice, whatever, like one of those upgrades is going to be more important to you than the others. And at some point they will all probably be important, but one of them is the one that you're probably looking for the most. Black Panther has the ability, Shuri has the ability to go and find that upgrade that's going to be the most important to you and have it on board immediately. And that makes her very good. That makes her very consistent. Even though I have since the beginning of this video said I don't entirely jive with her. And I think that just comes down to the fact that I just haven't figured out exactly how I want to play her. But when I've watched her played by other people, it's always seemed like they're having a good time. And I think that's what's most important, is that this is a hero that you can have a good time with. But let's move on to the rest of the kit. But first, let's talk about some of our recommendations for other content you can watch. Because if you enjoy this kind of content, I think you're really going to enjoy some of the other content creators out there. If you enjoy our future discussion about Nemesis kits and encounter cards, go listen to Critical Encounters. They cover everything. They are currently making their way through the Age of Apocalypse wave, but they have done a deep dive into so much lore and so much of the encounter cards. Additionally, if you just enjoy listening to discussions about cards, go listen to The Winning Hand. He also, the main host, Boom Guy, also hosts a podcast on the same YouTube channel about just building decks, and they're also available in most podcast places as well. And then if you're looking for gameplay, go check out Rey Plays Games and Solo Marvel Champion along with Charred Gambit. And then MC Deck Discussions does some deep critical thinking about the game in ways that I just don't have the fortitude or capacity to do. So if you enjoy any of this content, go check out these other channels. They are great. And let's get into the remainder of the hero pack. All right, and returning back to the kit, let's talk about her upgrades. We'll start with Spider Bites, a 2-cost upgrade with the Black Panther and tech traits. It has the special ability of choose a player, deal 1 damage to the villain, and each minion engaged with that player, you may discard this card to stun each of those enemies. So actually, let's just keep her right here, just as like a reminder. Okay, good. Okay, so use one of her basic abilities. Then this can be one of the techs that you use to deal the damage, to the villain and each minion engaged with you. That just adds to your support for 2, deal the damage across the board. You can discard this to stun them. That's very helpful. That means that, maybe you can stay in hero form longer. You don't need to worry about going to Alter Ego to keep your life total in check. Obviously, you will lose Spider Bites in that context, but these are all choices that you can make. And that's why I do think that, like, if once I get more rounds in with Black Panther, I do think she's going to be a hero that I'm going to enjoy, because I love being able to kind of do a spreadsheet's worth of thought. That's why I like Domino. That's why I like Magic. They both rank pretty highly for me. Black Panther screams choice, screams forethought. And like I said, it's just unfortunate that I haven't figured out how to use her in a way that really plays into that. But I do like Spider Bite as just a way to get some damage out of the way. And importantly, in multiplayer, you can choose another player. So you can say, hey, you're getting bogged down, or you've got a couple of minions on you that you just can't kind of get that final bit of damage on. Hey, Winter Soldier, let me put them in Winter Soldier range for you and make this a little bit easier. Like, I see the power in this, and I see the ability to stun and allow your teammate to also stay in hero form. They don't have to flip down. You can flip down, you can do your stuff. Unfortunately, you can't both use her basic power, do the Spider Bites, flip over, and then use her Shuri ability because you're already exhausted. But either way, good card, and just I don't know if I don't know where it ranks in the 4 of them, but I good card overall. I just think that it has its place, and I more want to use this to stun than to recur a bunch of damage, but that's just me. Then we've got Panther Claws, a 2-cost upgrade, Panther or Black Panther and weapon traded. With the special ability of attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy. You may discard this card to deal 3 additional damage to that enemy. If you do, this attack gains piercing. Nice thing here is that you can thwart for 2 and then deal 2 damage. And if you really need to, you can, or you could even defend for 2, deal 5 damage, whatever, what have you. This does come with the attack signifier, so this will burn up stuns. This will get stopped by a stun, but either way, still, this is one of my favorites just because it allows you to get damage in when you're doing other things. Like if you're in Justice, this allows you to just get 2 damage in while you're doing what your role at the table would be, and that's just thwarting. Fun times, but overall, yeah, just not too much more to say about it. It is pretty straightforward, and this is the one that I'm looking at it. I feel like this is the one that I'm least likely to discard unless my immediate reaction is to flip down to Shuri and basically grab it back. Although I suppose in that case, like this is, you're looking through your deck. Yeah, okay. So you got to be really tactical with it. This is one that I don't want to discard unless I have a way to get it back, because it is, to me, it is very valuable, and maybe that's just me prioritizing cards incorrectly, but that's just me. Then we've got Vibranium Suit, a 2-cost upgrade with the Armor and Black Panther traits, and has the special ability of attack. Again, that's important for stuns and stuff. Move 1 damage from your hero to an enemy. You may discard this card to give yourself a tough status card. I like this just as a way to preserve some of your life total, keep you a little bit out of range, maybe take out a enemy really quick. This goes really well with just like, she has a pretty small attack at 1, so maybe you get an attack in here, you burn off a tough somewhere, and then you move a damage onto another enemy, what have you. There are not a lot of really low hit point minions, so this isn't one where I feel like I can attack a minion that maybe has 2 health, just a base of 2 health, deal 1 damage to it, move 1 of my damage to it to get rid of it. That doesn't happen too often, but it's certainly an avenue that you can take. This isn't my favorite one. This is probably the one where I would value getting the tough status card pretty highly, but it's hard to overlook the fact that just healing yourself it's valuable. It's just not this isn't the upgrade that I think about very often. It's kind of the one that like I just draw it and I put it into play. And last of her Black Panther upgrades is Kimoyo Beads, a 2-cost upgrade, Black Panther and tech traits. Has the special thwart, so this interacts with the confused status card. Remove 1 threat from a scheme. You may discard this card to confuse an enemy. This is nice just when you want to maybe thwart, then confuse the villain so that you can go down to alter ego, and maybe you're going to buy back one of your stuff. Maybe you're just going to recover. I will say that's another thing about Shuri that is a little puts a little bit of tension in, is that you can't do her thing and also heal, and that's another stumbling block that I personally hit. But this does allow you to not have to worry about the main scheme going up because the villain's going to be confused. Or maybe there's just like, I guess an example of how this could come up is just in the last week I was doing my blind play with somebody of Loki, and we legitimately would have won if just one of the minions had not schemed. Like we went, like I think at the end, the cap is 16. I think we went exactly to 16 because a minion schemed. And if anything had not schemed in that final round, one thing, we would have been golden. We would have won. And it's things like that that just kind of like chip off just a little bit that can save you. And so I see the value in this. This is probably my second most grabbed one. I would say Panther Claws, and then this, and then the Spider Bites, and then the Vibranium Suit are what I'm kind of prioritizing. That does change within what your role is at the table, but for the most part, that is kind of what I look for, because no matter what my role is at the table, all of these are valuable. They can help you do kind of like cross archetype stuff. You can thwart but also be dealing damage. You can deal damage but also be thwarting. It's not the most economical thing. I would say probably the best place for her is in a Justice role where she's using her 2 thwart and getting that 2 attack off the Panther Claws, but that's just my opinion. And let's move on to the rest of the kit. Real quick, before we get into some of the other stuff, let's talk about Wakanda Forever, because it's kind of pertaining to what we were just talking about. It is a 1-cost event with the tactic trait, hero action, resolve the special ability of each Black Panther upgrade you control in any order. This is great. Unlike T'Challa Black Panther, unfortunately, there's only 1 copy of this, and because there's only 1 copy, I don't get a lot of use out of this, and also because your upgrades are able to be discarded, this isn't one where I feel like I'm getting 3 different abilities off of Wakanda Forever. Generally, you get 2 of them, then you make an attack, and you discard one of them for its discard effect. It's not as good as the Wakanda Forever in T'Challa's context. And that's unfortunate because I want this to be the same thing, and it just isn't. It's just contextually different, and that's unfortunate. But either way, that's... But there really isn't much more to say about it. It reads like it should be the same, but it actually is a different card. It just with the context of how Shuri's equipment, or how her upgrades work. It is just a different card, which I think is fascinating. I think it's really interesting that you can have a card that basically is the same but works differently. And I think that is at the core of that kind of is Marvel Champions. Speaking of T'Challa, we've got her signature ally, T'Challa, a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, the Genius and Wakanda traits, and 3 health. And the hero responsive after T'Challa uses a basic power, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. So the nice thing here is that this is a way for you to use Shuri on the first turn, go grab an upgrade, put T'Challa into play, and he can use whatever upgrade you're using. That's very good. This is definitely a character that I have not explored sidekick with yet, but this is a character that I want to keep around. This is one that I want to heal up. I want to give it extra hit points. I want it to be around doing its thing. It's very similar to, I believe Maria Hill also falls into this category. The identity-specific ally for Nick Fury is also another character in this wave that I want to keep around and just have her do her thing as often as possible. And yeah, there's not too much more to say. I definitely like T'Challa. I think this is a great way to utilize him and leverage him for this hero. And yeah, he's just really, really helpful. 2 and 2 is pretty great. 4 is a little expensive, but when you think about it, you have the ability to put in attack for free. And so this kind of like balances out the costs and everything. Definitely this is your entire turn, but at the same time, yeah, I like what they did here, and it's really cool. Moving into the multiples, we have Clawed Strike, a 2-cost event, attack traded. The hero action of deal 4 damage to an enemy, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. So I just said that T'Challa is one of your ways. I might have even incorrectly said the only way. I hope I didn't say that, but I don't want to mislead you. This is another way that you can get out an upgrade and still make meaningful use out of that upgrade on the first turn. This is just nice because you can deal 4 damage, remove a threat. You can deal 4 damage, deal 5 more on top of that. It's unfortunate there's only 2 copies of this because I think this is really cool. I like this over Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever it has a higher ceiling, but that ceiling is actually kind of false. Whereas Clawed Strike is much more dependable, much more is you get what you're looking for, and I think it's better than it might look like on its face. It's good, and that decision tree of everything you can do with those upgrades on top of this is what, again, makes Black Panther a character that I want to like, and I just haven't cracked yet. And similarly, we've got 2 copies of On the Prowl, a 2-cost event. Thwart traded, hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme, resolve the special ability on 1 Black Panther upgrade you control. Basically, everything I just said about Clawed Strike pertains to On the Prowl. Same decision trees, same things you can do, same costs. And yeah, overall, I would say I think I like Clawed Strike more, but this is a pretty sweet card as long as you have the upgrades that you're looking for. In the situations where you don't have any of your upgrades, that has happened to me before, where your upgrades just get like caught off guard, or you needed to use one of them for one of their special purposes, and suddenly this is just removing 3 threat. That is disappointing. It is, I would say, I guess it's slightly below curve, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, for the most part, Generally, you are going to have an upgrade out, so you're going to be able to get some use out of this. But the situations where you don't, really, they're disappointing, to say the least. And yeah, like I said, just like Cloud Strike, more of the same. Then I guess we'll look at these 2 copies of Vibranium. Pretty simple. It is a resource that generates wild. This is helpful. Having this in your kit means that yes, you can have like the basic resources. Yes, you can have the basic resources, but at the end of the day, Vibranium is going to be that thing that's always going to be in your deck. That's always going to mean that you're going to have double resources floating around. You can maybe pick whatever double resources may be going to be advantageous. Maybe you got some requirements in some of the cards on your list or in some cards in your deck, and so you can prioritize, I'm just going to put that in. Or you can have 5 double resources in your deck, and that's great. Not too much more to say. It's just a good double resource. Moving into our additional one-ofs, we've got the Elephant's Trunk, a 2-cost support, Persona Wakanda trait, and the alter ego action of exhaust the Elephant's Trunk and up to 2 other Wakanda allies and or supports you control. Draw 1 card for each card exhausted this way, including this one. This is just a nice draw engine. I don't get a lot of use out of this, only because I don't always play with the Dora Milaje cards. I probably should. And those are 3 allies, and there's either a support or an upgrade. I'm not remembering right now. I think it's in my example deck. Those help to make this possible. The other cards basically come down to you need to just have your deck with Wakanda cards. We have, I think, 1 other support in the deck in her kit that is Wakanda traded, and so this does become slim pickings. You do need to build around this card being helpful. Because, yeah, I guess you can exhaust this to just draw 1 card, but you kind of want to exhaust this and draw 2 or 3 cards. That would be great. Either way, I think this is a very highly ranked card, in my opinion. It's just one that I think, like I said, you need to build your deck around the existence of this card, and sometimes that's easier said than done. Speaking of Wakanda supports, we've got Queen Ramonda, a 1-cost support with the Persona and Wakanda trait. Exhaust Queen Ramonda, heal damage from an alter ego with the Wakanda trait equal to that alter ego's recovery stat. So this is helpful for both Black Panthers. I don't think we don't have another Wakanda alter ego. This is just nice. This is just a nice way to get T'Challa and Shuri into fighting shape. Other than that, there's not too much more to say about it. This is another target for the Elephant's Trunk, but definitely valuable. I mean, think of any Persona support that basically is a free recovery for you, including something like, Chimichanga Truck. Technically a free recovery for you. You get a lot of use out of those. Being able to recover but not have your identity exhausted is very valuable, and this is definitely one of those ways to take advantage of that. And additionally, like I said before, the problem with Shuri that I have is that you exhaust her to use her ability, you can't recover. This fixes that problem. And lastly, I can't believe we're already to the lastlies. The time on the recording definitely says that we're at the lastlies. Okay, and I'm gonna really fudge this, but we've got the 1-cost upgrade, Aja-Adanna. I am sometimes the worst reader possible. So it is a title with the action trait of exhaust this card. Shuffle 1 identity-specific card from your discard pile into your deck. This can be helpful when you discard your upgrades and you want to get them back with Shuri. And this is an action, so you don't even need to worry about being an alter ego. This just allows you to lose an upgrade, put it right back into your deck. Maybe you draw into it, or you flip down and you go grab it with Shuri. Either way, good time. Love it when you can combine this with, maybe you buy back T'Challa this way. Maybe you buy back one of your upgrades and you go down to alter ego, but T'Challa is there to be able to still get use out of that special. Either way, this is a combo card in many ways. Kind of a light combo card. You're not gonna build your entire deck around it, but it's definitely one where it enables you to do really fun things, and I think that's really important and really strong. But that is the kit. Let's go talk about our example deck, and then we'll come back to talk about the Obligation and Nemesis. All right, and here we are talking about the example deck for Shuri Black Panther, and I'm very happy to say that this entire deck can be built with just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Panther, and the core set. That was definitely something that I was aiming to do when I was drawing up the deck, and what I want to always do when I'm putting my best foot forward when providing a next step for the audience here. And what I will say is that Black Panther Shuri comes with a Justice Precon deck. And so far, I would say that she might be the one hero that is sort of held back by the cards in her wave. I think that you very well could go in a protection direction. There are the tech options there to sort of like flesh it out. You don't need to focus on tech, but I think that is a good place to kind of use to point yourself forward. And this wave does not really support the tech part of Shuri very well. But let's get into it. We're still in Justice. We're not really changing that up, but I do think that just making a couple tweaks to the deck from what it is as a precon will result in something interesting. So let's get into it. So we've got the 3 different Dora Milaje cards that are all in here. Well, actually 4. There's a support as well. But the first one is Akina, a 3-cost ally with 1 thwart, 2 attack, the Dora Milaje and Wakanda traits, and she has 3 health. And in response of, after this card uses a basic ability, resolve the special ability on another Dora Milaje ally. Her special is remove 1 threat from a scheme, which can be helpful with the other Dora Milaje. There's not too much here to say because the 3 of them together, we'll skip over Manifold and we'll just talk about the 3 of them together just to kind of give you the full context. But I do think that just filling your entire board up with these 3 allies is going to be something that you're going to want to aim for. Maybe that might not be realistic, but that is something that I have done before. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it certainly makes it for maybe you sandbag your allies for a little bit and just let them build up so that you can start to do really good interactions. Maybe keep them with 1 hit point left so that the other ones can be generating their special. But let's talk about them real quick. We got Ao, who is a 3-cost ally as well, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health as usual, Dora Milaje and Wakanda. And the response of, after this card makes a basic power or uses a basic power, resolve the special ability on another Dora Milaje card. Another Dora Milaje ally, and her special is deal 1 damage to an enemy. And then finally, as we talk about Okoye, a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, Dora Milaje, Wakanda, as expected. Response, after she uses a basic power, resolve the special on another Dora Milaje ally. Her special is choose a Wakanda hero or ally. They get +1 thwart, +1 attack till the end of the phase. So these 3 together, pretty basic. It's interesting because you're going to want, we're in Justice, you're going to want to have the thwarting ally out, but you're going to need other Dora Milaje out to actually access her ability. And I think that by just having all 3 of them out, yes, they burn up after 3 activations apiece, but if you can kind of keep them all going, they can be a really strong core that can help to support what Shuri is trying to do. I also look forward to putting them into a T'Challa deck. It just hasn't happened yet, but or I haven't done that yet. And I would say that Okoye is definitely the ally that you want the most, just because she's going to be able to not only be a useful target for your other Dora Milaje to help to support Shuri, but also she's just a good way to have, she can do whatever. If you need thwarting, you got thwarting. If you need attack, you got attack. And then the other ally you have in play is going to be able to help you. But yeah, that is the core of our ally build. But let's also get into Manifold. This is going to allow us to, because he is Wakanda traded, so this is going to allow us to have the what's it called again? The elephant's trunk. Have the elephant's trunk be as capable as possible. So you should be able to exhaust it, draw 3 cards, because you have 5 total allies in play that have the Wakanda trait. But Manifold himself is a 3-cost ally with 2 thwart, 1 attack, Avenger Wakanda traded, 2 health. In response of, after Manifold enters play, choose a player. That player searches their deck and discard pile for a side scheme and adds it to their hand. Luckily, side schemes normally cost 0, but this does allow you to, in solo, or I guess in in 2-player, you have a limit on how many side schemes you can have out. and this allows you to still get one, but you don't have to put it into play, and you're not fighting against that limit. And this is also why we have 2 player side schemes in the deck, so that we will be able to play into that as much as possible. In multiplayer, the options just open up. But yeah, he's a good way to get a. He's a second copy of whatever player side scheme we need. He's also Wakanda traded. He also thwarts for 2, which is good. Already talked about T'Challa. Then we've got, just because we are limited a little bit by what we can do, we have 2 copies of For Justice, 2-cost event, thwart traded, hero action thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme 4 threat instead if you paid using a mental resource, which I don't think we necessarily, we sort of built for that. That wasn't my priority. I was just more trying to have another copy of On the Prowl, and this is an easy card to substitute out once you start to expand your card pull out, but I would say that at a base level, when you're just trying to build with the core set, this is not a bad card. Oops, skipped over one. Skipped over Heart of the Panther. So this is Heart of the Panther, a team-up event for the 2 Black Panthers. It's a 2-cost event with the Wakanda trait and hero action of search your deck and discard pile for a Black Panther upgrade and put it into play. Resolve the special ability on up to 4 Black Panther upgrades you control in any order. So this helps no matter what. So yeah, this does have the setback of the fact that you need to have your signature ally out, but I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. It is just it's another copy of Wakanda Forever. It goes and gets you a tech upgrade, which I think really balances out the 2 cost of the card. And yeah, just overall, it's a wild resource. If that's all it is, then that's all it is. But for me, I wanted to have this in here because I think it's a team-up card that is... Obviously, you always want them to be less expensive, but I think that it is worth the cost. And then we've got Infiltration, 1-cost event, hero action. It has a thwart trait. Hero action, choose a number from 1 to 5. Discard that many cards from the top of the encounter deck. Remove 1 threat from a scheme for each card discarded this way. Put 1 minion into play, discarded this way, engaged with you. So this might result in you having a minion you have to worry about, but for the most part, this is just a good way to take off threat in a very... not roundabout, in a very modular way. So if you only need to remove 2, you're not putting this huge risk out there. If you need to remove 5, 1 for 5 is really great. It does come up with the slight risk that you might hit a minion, but also maybe you don't care because you are equipped to handle it. And at 1 cost, it's pretty inexpensive and still allows you to do something like a Clawed Strike. Then our 2 player side schemes. The first one is Going Undercover. Victory 0, cost 0, comes in with 4 threat, and when defeated, the defeating player looks at the top 5 cards of the encounter deck. They may add 1 non-scenario specific card from among those to the victory display, then place the rest on the top and or bottom of the encounter deck in any order. This is just nice because you can hit the top 5. Maybe you've just determined that you're down to like 10 cards, and one of the encounter cards you don't want to deal with. Obviously, you're not going to be able to break this scenario by you're playing Mutagen Formula, you take a Mutagen Formula card out, or you're playing against Ultron, you take an Ultron card out. But you can hit you can hit Shadow of the Past. You can hit, I do not like Caught Off Guard. Let's get a copy of Caught Off Guard out of the deck. It can be very helpful. And yeah, just with Manifold, this allows you to kind of find this whenever you need it. And let me just remind myself. Manifold searches the deck in the discard pile. So yeah, you can use either of these side schemes as a resource and still be able to grab them. Then we grab the other side scheme that actually came out of the Black Panther path, and that is Show of Empathy. It is a 0-cost side scheme with 6 threat on it. Victory 0. When threat is removed from this scheme, place that much threat on a non-elite minion. If that minion has threat on them equal to or greater than the remaining hit points, add Show of Empathy to the victory display and attach 1 copy of Redemption to that minion. And just for context, is that not gonna? And Redemption is a upgrade that is linked to Show of Empathy, has Victory 0, and it take control of attached minion and treat it as a redeemed ally with a blank text box. A thwart is equal to its scheme, and it takes 1 consequential damage for after it attacks or thwarts. So this just allows you to do the very fun thing of basically taking a minion and turning it into an ally, which can be very nice. What I would say, I guess the balance here is that the ally is only going to have up to 6 health. So if you can remove a bunch of it and they have 6 health or 6 hit points, that can be very helpful. You can, I guess if there was a minion that had more health than 6, you could heal it technically. Having it not be elite is pretty sketchy. I don't know that there are too many non-elite minions that have 6 or more health. But either way, this is nice. If you've played against Enchantress, just being able to take those minions and defeat them and then get an ally out of them is super nice. And this is just a nice way to do that. Characters like Phoenix and what's her name? I'm completely blanking on what her name is. Karma being able to grab a minion as well. Like, this is just a cool effect. Doesn't come around too often, and now we have a side scheme that can do it. Got the basic resources, got Vibranium, then we've got Dora Milaje to go along with our other part of the kit. It is a 3-cost support, Wakanda traded, and ignore the cost of this. Ignore this card's resource cost if your identity has the Wakanda trait, which we do, and has an action of exhaust Dora Milaje, resolve the special ability on one Dora Milaje ally, and heal 1 damage from that ally. So this is also important. This gives you some longevity. This allows you to have only one of the allies out and still be able to use their special ability. And yeah, this is just a nice support. It, in the same form as the Web of Life and Destiny, where you have the right trait, this gets played for free. And I think this is also important because this means that the Dora Milaje, like the 4-card package, can really go into any hero. Obviously, Okoye is kind of pushing you to want to have it in a Wakanda hero, but at the same time, if you happen to want to, put this into Captain America or Winter Soldier, that availability is still there. Moving down the list, we've got Invisibility Gear, a 1-cost upgrade item, tech traded, play under any player's control, max 1 per player, and it has the interrupt ability of when a villain would attack you, discard invisibility gear that enemy schemes instead. This is just nice. You can go grab it with Shuri if you need to. If not, you'll eventually stumble upon it. It's just nice to have in multiples because you can just turn some attacks into scheming, and we are in Justice, so we don't mind if some threat ends up on the main scheme. Then we've got Prism Dust, which actually kind of combos really well with Invisibility Gear now that I think about it, but a 1-cost upgrade, preparation, tech again, max 1 per player. Hero response: after a minion enters play, discard Prism Dust, confuse that minion, and deal 2 damage to it. So this can be removal, can just take out a small minion, or it can just set them up to, maybe be Show of Empathy easier. And you can fuse them, so you can go down to Alter Ego, you can have that Invisibility Gear, make it so that they go to scheme and that they're confused, so you just burn up an entire minion activation. Either way, love the card, and it is it's nice to have. Then we've got Sonic Rifle, which this would have been the other card out of the Mad Titan Shadow. I was confused where that was coming from, but this is a reprint. It is a 3-cost upgrade, tech, which is important, weapon traded, restricted, has 2 uses counters on it, and hero action of exhaust Sonic Rifle and remove 1 charge counter from it, confuse an enemy, deal 3 damage to that enemy if it's already confused. You can get uses out of this in any number of ways. I do like this just as a way to confuse the villain, but if they do happen to already be confused, not something that we're prioritizing here, but if they do happen to be confused, you get to do 3 damage, and that's pretty cool. And I think the last card we need to talk about is Under Surveillance. We only got 1 copy. I talked about this last week with Silk, but from a solo perspective, and I would even say that in 2-player, this can also just be nice. It's just not as powerful, but it is a 2-cost upgrade with the condition attached to the main scheme, max 1 per scheme. Increase the target threat value of the attached scheme by 4. So, if it's 8, now it's 12. If it's 6, now it's 10. And this can just be super powerful. It's just a pretty big staple. I'm happy that it got reprinted, especially with Current on the horizon, and anybody who wants to build around Current, you still have access to Under Surveillance. But yeah, this is a good card. I like it, and it's always been very helpful. But yeah, that is the deck. I would say this is a pretty solid next steps. It takes what was already good about Shuri and just augments it a little bit, makes a couple switches here and there to just sort of improve the deck. But overall, not that big of a change. I think that her pre-constructed deck, at least in terms of like trying to work with a pretty small card pool, was already pretty good. And yeah, I think this is a good starting point. And then as you acquire more Justice cards or more just basic cards, you can always take out what you don't like, improve for Justice. Maybe the Dora Milaje package isn't working out for you, and you can just swap it out for something else. But let's get into the Obligation and Nemesis Kit. And we are back to talk about the Obligation, T'Challa's Shadow. It is a obligation with give to the Shuri player. It has uses of 4 doubt counters and victory 0, so it's automatically going to leave play when it leaves, or it's going to be put into the victory display when it leaves play. Increase the resource cost of each card in your hand by 1. That is rough. And then force response: after you thwart, attack, or defend, remove 1 doubt counter from here. This is rough. It is not debilitating. If your board's already built out, you don't need to worry about this. You're just going to naturally get rid of it over the course of 2 or 3 turns, hopefully. Maybe you make a defense, maybe you ready back up in some way. Easier said than done, but this is not too intrusive. The times when it really, really sucks is when you find yourself in a situation where your board is relatively small and you need to build up again, and this is just getting in your way. And you just need to make it happen. Hitting every card for 1 is a lot. If you have anything that is slightly overpriced because you were taking advantage of the fact that Shuri was going to reduce the cost of upgrades of tech upgrades by 2, this is going to only make it more hard. Not the most debilitating thing, but definitely one to keep in mind. Moving into our obligation, moving into our Nemesis Kit, we've got Klaw and the side scheme Manipulated Music. Klaw is a minion with 2 scheme, 0 attack, and 6 health. He is an elite and Masters of Evil traded character, and a force interrupt of when Klaw attacks, give him 1 additional boost card for this activation. So it's a pseudo version of Villainous, but only for his attacks, which I don't think necessarily dawned upon me initially when I was looking over this card, or even when I was playing against it. But yeah, plays very much like the villain. Good time overall. Not the worst thing in the world. You can generally, my experience says that it's hard for Shuri to necessarily get 6 damage through efficiently, so this probably will take 2 attacks, but not the thing I worry about the most. Tooth scheme can be a little much. You go down to Alter Ego, and that does push the math pretty hard. But you had to make the calls when you can, and that's just what it is. Then we've got Manipulated Music, the side scheme with when revealed, find music and put her into play engaged with you. When defeated, discard music from play, and it has the amplify icon and 5 threat. So just for context, here's music. A minion with 0 scheme, 0 attack, 1 health. She has the captive trait, and when revealed, find Manipulated Music and put it into play. So they are very strongly linked. When defeated, move all threat from Manipulated Music to the main scheme, has an amplify icon. This is just so much fun. You hit Shadows of the Past, Claw comes into play, Manipulated Music comes into play, then Music comes into play, and you have to get rid of Manipulated Music, because if you defeat Music, who hopefully is not going to be that imposing, but if for some reason you can no longer use Spider Bites, because Spider Bites is just going to kill Music, and then suddenly the threat on Manipulated Music just shifts over. I'm trying to think if there is some way to make this advantageous. There probably is. I've never run into a situation where taking the threat from here and moving it to the main scheme has been something that has been worth it. Besides, maybe you have no way, there's going to be another stage, there's going to be another main scheme to go through. So you just, in an effort to have less side schemes in play, just push it over. In that world, maybe you're playing against Red Skull, and so the amount of side schemes in play is relevant. But like I said, I don't think I've ever run into a scenario where letting Music be defeated is a good call. But maybe they exist. I don't know. This kind of initial game state is a lot. It is a lot. These are going to get amplified. I suppose that is the one thing. You can't keep them out for too long, because the double amplify icons are going to get you. And then rounding everything out, we have 2 copies of The Scream, A treachery with 1 revealed, stun each character you control, deal 1 damage to each of those characters that are already stunned, and a boost ability of you are stunned. If you are already stunned, take 1 damage. Pretty basic. I don't want to say that it's a non encounter card. It definitely has an impact on the game. Stunning all of your characters is relevant, but I certainly feel like this is not the tripping hazard that other encounter cards can be. That said, if you have a lot of characters, I suppose this is going to really slow down your gameplay, and that is disappointing. But I don't know. This Nemesis kit does not worry me too much. A lot of it is wrapped up in claw and music and all that stuff, but the scream is a thing. There we go. That is Black Panther. She is in the books. She is a character that, like I said, I want to enjoy her. I just have not found a way that I really jive with her, and that's unfortunate. I think that she's really cool for the players that really love her. I'm so happy because she screams like enfranchised player, skillful player, thoughtful player. You like to think through your turns. She's going to give you that decision tree of how you can maybe crack it. That does also make her a character that when you reflect back on the game, you suddenly see lines of play that you just didn't act upon, and that can be difficult. But you know, I'm a content creator, so I actually have to like rewatch my games on occasion. And until next time, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, everything, and I will see you in the next one. But you're doing great. Keep it up.